Sometimes a game comes along that's completely out of left field. Basically, hey, this exists, and there it is, teased, shown off, and released in the game development time equivalent of a toasted Pop-Tart. Gonna be honest, I had no idea what the heck this was even gonna be. I just saw the gameplay and said, wow, that is a lot of colors happening. And then EA said, get on the plane, Kevin, and all of a sudden there I was, in San Francisco, at a computer with it on my monitor. So I figured, I'm already here, might as well try it. And try it I did. And this was my experience, which by the way is sponsored by EA. My grand journey started as all the great epics do, accidentally pressing the wrong button on an elevator and going to the slaughter floor rather than the hotel bar. Luckily, some lady on a flying Roomba was there.
You've never seen the Pentaside up close.
You saw how I lived under a giant bridge.
A giant bridge, sir.
Huh.
Use
I
it.
didn't realize the bridge was a dude.
Now, get ready to fight, Magnus.
Well, the bridge's gender would have to wait. I was ordered to kill people. Now, normally I would object to such barbarism after such a simple elevator accident, but for some reason it just felt right, so I killed without mercy. Also, this murder is brought to you by the power of the...
That spell altar there. It will teach you how to summon a shield.
Why? I don't block in Dark Souls and I ain't starting now. You know, I'm just gonna hold this up here. There's no reason, just future-proofing. The floating lady tried to tell me about the power of having an RGB setup, but I was too busy annoying her. And just like that, I acquired one of the most dangerous powers known to man. Red.
Red magic is particularly violent.
Whatever dangers of using this power she was about to warn me of, I wasn't listening, because I was already too busy abusing it.
Don't get overconfident.
Too late!
You're hurt.
I was, in fact, barely hurt, but with the power of free Canadian healthcare. Next, weird floating elevator lady gave me some kind of bike hand grip.
It's a lash. You can use it to pull enemies towards you. Most of them.
However, I would instead be using it every morning to make my eyes pop. And with that, I immediately misused the weapon and killed myself. But because I am Immortal of Aveum, I am not allowed to die. And finally, Yoda Lady gave me the M16 of magics, green.
It's the province of spirits, of death.
Say no more. Well, now that she had given me just enough knowledge to be dangerous, I instantly abused my newfound powers to quite literally obliterate a bunch of poor defenseless peasants. Not only that, but I toyed with them. I showed them that I was the one who knocked them to the ground multiple times before incinerating them. And then I was given the piece de resistance, big spell.
This one will allow you to break enemy shields,
which I used to immediately debilitate for life a couple of helpless fools.
Save that anger for your final challenge.
What is that?
Didn't matter, because I had acquired the ancient ability of having no patience, timing, or strategy, and used all of them to my advantage. I was a loose cannon at this point. All of my training went completely out the window. All that mattered was that the flashy lights made his health bar go down fast. Oh, and then I got some sort of battlefield burrito. Well, my countless war crimes after training finally caught up to me, and I was sent straight to the front lines, which I reacted to as if I was a kid at a wave pool.
That's one hell of a next wave.
Well, an entire fleet wouldn't stop me from accidentally almost killing my own men immediately, playing with propane, and doing some slick parkour. I then went into a room and did so many things. I couldn't really tell what was happening half the time, but after the things were over, people were dead, and I was happy. And I continued gallivanting through the town, ripping people off of walls, punching people in the neck, and just generally being 1 second late to saving people. And then, of course, spawn killing my enemies who had no idea that they released a literal psycho onto the front lines who had absolutely no self-control over his trigger finger. Of course, when I got onto the front lines, they were letting the city absolutely fall on purpose. And then, naturally, Dragon jump scare. He kind of picked me up and flew me around. No real damage was done, but my unhinged emotional aggression got the best of me, and I shot him while 50 stories up. And then I died. But I lived, because I am Immortal of Aveum. Regardless, I found myself out in nature, touching things like grass and nature. I then came across some of the locals of the forest, but accidentally and viciously annihilated them with malicious intent. Well, that definitely called down the local forest security on me, so I did the only thing natural. I began to prove to them that they shouldn't have skipped the tutorial. After quite literally burning them alive in a glorious manner, I proceeded onwards, shooting everything in sight, and then watched another pathetic attempt for my enemies to do, well, anything really. I suppose most of them just knew they were no match for the sheer power of a guy with cubes and let fate take its prisoners. And then, obviously, I stole the ancient power of the forest that was keeping everything so alive and green. But it was worth it because I could now kill like 5 guys at once. I soon found myself facing off against my worst enemy, Blue Lady. Her powers included things such as summoning blue things and having the force. Typical. Well, I wasn't having any of that nonsense, so I opened fire, immediately killing 2 of her guards instead of her, to send a warning to her that I wasn't afraid to kill her. Which, well, didn't matter because she taught me how to do a backflip and then Iron Man'd her way out of the room. However, I did forgive her right away because she left me a bunch of people to kill and farm XP from, so that really made up for her killing all my friends. Unfortunately, the battle was short-lived and my bloodlust was unsatisfied, and with that, I booked it back to the front lines. Bad things happening to me weren't gonna keep me from a good time, until... So, knowing that probably waited for me up ahead, I upgraded as much red as I possibly could and ran straight into a conveniently shaped dragon fighting arena. Well, unbeknownst to the dragon, he was actually in a conveniently shaped me fighting arena. And fight him I did. Well, because I really had no other choice at this point. And I will be honest with you, I had no idea what I was doing. And I was doing it efficiently and with intense amounts of prowess. I also had a special ability that was forgetting to use my special abilities. But after finally remembering I had them, the fight was over. And I got a thing. Well, next on my mission to bring peace back to the land, I found myself back in the forest, obviously murdering more people at my earliest convenience. My enemies were no match for my sheer talent of wielding an RGB wristwatch, and having very little knowledge as to how I was actually killing them, I killed them all. Moments later, I found myself on yet another elevator, this one being high on shrooms. And then, of course, I acquired a giant rock companion who was a professional figure skater and door opener. But none of that would matter anymore, because I was now facing off against a powerful green guy who ran at me and immediately insulted my mother. So I beat the crap out of his men and found out he hates the color red, so much so that he refused to fight me if I kept throwing it at him. And that is exactly what I did. And constantly, and consistently. The more red I threw, the less he decided to fight me. Not even his power of teleportation could stop me from throwing as much red at him as I could. And very soon, I had him looking like a book. Red all over. So naturally, I moved some nature around, potentially disturbing thousands of years of growth in this ancient forest. But I made a cool ramp, so I'd say it was worth it. Plus, it led me straight to the most powerful artifact in the world, Pocket Watch Laser Beam. And just in time, as I was swarmed by a bunch of Pocket Watch protectors trying to stop me from obtaining its power. But they were far too late. In what I can only describe as the most thing you've ever seen, I quite literally obliterated everything in my path. I was using every color of the RGB rainbow mixed with the sheer destructive capabilities of a pocket watch, and no one could stand in my way. They were no match for me. There weren't any close calls, only long distance, and I was the one dialing all the numbers on my keyboard to do abilities. With that, I finally stumbled across the Eye of Sauron, except green, so I knew what needed to be done. My rock monster companion let me straight into their front door, and I proceeded to senselessly slaughter every last insignificant air breather this place could harbor. And I'll be honest, I didn't know what I was doing half the time, but the more I honed into that, the more stuff died, so I figured it couldn't be so bad being clueless. And then, to finish it all off, I Hadoukened, but my companion decided to stand right in the way and ruined everything. Luckily, he made up for it by pulverizing the last guy into the dirt.